You're on.
Okay, good evening and welcome to the Selectmen's meeting of Thursday, March 19th, 2020. If we could all stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the first thing on our agenda is going to be selecting the chair and vice chair. I just want to thank all the selectmen for allowing me to serve as chairman for the past 2 years. It's been very educational, and I enjoyed doing it. I hope I did a good enough job. I think I got better as time went on. So anyway, so we're also, we do have a new selectman here, Eric Pyra, that's your name, right? And he, who's been sworn in at the town meeting, and this is Eric's first meeting as a selectman on the board. Eric.
Congratulations, Eric.
Yeah, congratulations.
So, nominations for chair. I'll nominate Joe Justman. We have a second. We have a second from Pat. We need discussion on that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. So I guess you would take over at this time. Officially take over. I'm going to pass you. Congratulations, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Okay. First thing on the agenda is the meeting, the minute meeting.
No, vice chair.
Oh, yeah, we still have to go through all of that. don't we?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I apologize, yeah. The next thing on the agenda is the vice chair, and I would go so far as to nominate Pat Constantino for that position. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? A listing of the boards. Yeah. We have a listing of
I
who's
do.
doing what now.
So, I just want to go through this with you to get your feedback right now. So now we have the chair is Joe Jessamine, and vice chair is Pat Constantino. Under the budget committee, we need an ex officio and an alternate. Currently, it was Catherine Dawson as the ex officio and Peter Falk as the alternate. So we need a new ex officio, and I don't know if Peter has an interest in continuing as alternate.
I would say that,
I prefer not. I may have something coming up on the horizon that would suck a lot of time.
I would say, is there anybody who would like to volunteer who covers that position?
The budget committee, ex officio.
Ex officio.
I'll do it this year, because I've done it before.
I could say you're getting sucked back in, John.
This will be your number, I believe it's 19 or 20.
Well, you've got it down
Yeah.
pat.
It's a
So-
good-
So if you've done 18, you can do another 18.
Ouch.
No.
Okay.
You'll have to-
Okay.
Do you need to vote on that?
Okay, we will vote on it just because I nominate John Scanlon to the position of ex officio to the budget committee. Is there a second? Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous?
Ex is alternate.
I'll nominate Pat.
Oh, I would second that. Well, you've been to the budget committee and you, lots of times, so it would make good sense.
She'll be
for me.
there anyway.
That's true, probably. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Ex is Pyra. Planning Board, Joe Justman is currently the ex officio with John Scanlon as the alternate.
Is there anyone who would like to have that position? I nominate Eric Pyra to be the ex officio of the planning board.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none.
Hold on a second. Was there anybody else that wanted to do that? Did you ask that question?
I do not know that. I asked if anybody wanted it. Eric said that he would really like it, so I nominate.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
And okay, we'll go back to, is there any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed?
Alternate for Planning Board. Currently it's John Scanlon.
Would you like to do that, Pat? No? Is there anybody who would like to do
I have too many meetings now.
that? I would take alternate to the planning board and sort of be a transition thing for me. So
Shall we
if somebody'd like to make
Second.
that.
make the
I'll move
motion?
it.
I'll move it.
Second.
So a second, it was moved by Eric and seconded by
Peter,
Peter.
is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Great, the next is the 150th committee. Catherine Dawson was the ex officio and Joe was the alternate. So anyone, now the 150th committee will go through June 30th, and at that point, if you remember, there was a prior discussion about creating the Tilton Events Committee, which would carry on in the future, but for now, until then, is there any, I guess that's, you need,
Don't they meet in the afternoons?
Yeah, they meet early.
they meet at like 3 o'clock on Wednesday.
Right.
At least me.
Right.
I'd love to do it at least me.
And I would love to do it
The JLB.
myself, but
Yeah.
Okay.
3 o'clock on Wednesday is likely to be tough. Not in the short term, but
Okay. So we'll just have that. Main Street Committee. Currently, it's Joe Justman as ex officio.
Main Street Committee?
That's what you read
it's a
from.
committee that we set up to explore things like these streetlights and
Economic
coming up
development.
with parking solutions and, maybe a street fair idea or
I was
something
thinking
like
it was the old one.
that. No.
Joe, you want to stay on there?
I'll stay on. We've kind
Make
of
a
losing
motion that
steam.
Joe, staying on as ex officio.
Under discussion, I will say that the committee has lost some steam and enthusiasm. And I would certainly like all the volunteers out there, once we're able to do so, to come on down and be a part of the process. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous?
CBA.
We don't have
We don't
one
have one
for
on
the
ZBA.
ZBA.
Well, what we have is a alternate, and Joe was the
You can't
It
have
was the alternate from years ago.
Oh,
Before, when I left the select board, when I didn't run for reelection, I was over
He
as
was
an
a
alternate.
resident.
Yeah, resident on the zoning board.
You can't have a selectman on the board as an ex officio.
well, I'm just telling you.
It's
what
illegal.
Okay, well, they didn't remove, I was,
They did, because you were still on and Eric was on and you were on, so we take you off and we don't do anything with zoning.
that's
Because they
correct.
were on as residents.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
all right. Parks Commission, Peter Boggs, the ex officio, Catherine Dawson was the alternate.
Is there anybody who wants the position of the ex officio for parks? Peter?
I'll stay on it.
When do they meet?
Monday, second Monday of the month, and then in the fall it may kick into
Other calendar.
every other Monday.
Every other Monday?
And it sometimes will happen in October, November, getting ready for the parade.
Oh, for the Christmas parade,
Mm-hmm.
or holiday parade.
Christmas parade.
Well, I would nominate Peter to be the ex officio to the Parks Committee.
Second.
Is there any discussion? None. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
And then we have,
Unanimous.
then we have the alternate.
I would nominate Eric Pine to be the alternate to the Parks Committee. Is there a second? Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous.
Next is the Tilton Trail Advisory Committee. John Scanlon is ex officio, Joe Jessamine is alternate.
I've never
So
even been
what
to a
again?
meeting.
Tilton Trail Advisory Committee.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's the,
Not even sure
I
I
went to,
knew I was the alternate.
yeah, I went to the one that was held after the winter. I can continue.
And, okay, I'll nominate John for,
Did you want to do some things?
I'm good. I don't know the trail.
well, this is
I
a
live
good
right
time to
there.
learn. We need an alternate too, but I would nominate John Scanlon to the position of ex officio of the trail.
Scallion was more like it.
John Scallion. John Scallion.
Keenan.
Second.
Spicy. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
And Joe Jessamine is the alternate.
Oh, but I would nominate Eric Pyra to be the alternate for the trail committee.
Sure.
Is that a
If I can
second?
get a lesson on what, you know,
You can talk with John about.
There's an MOU that we have in place. that
is
they-
this for the, bike
The
trail?
Trail Association,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, the bike trail.
Not the trailers, it's the trail. Bush trail.
One second.
Like Tilton.
Yeah. There's many trails.
Okay then, is there any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? It's unanimous.
Concord Regional Solid Waste. Joe Jessamine is, and Kevin DeWall is the alternate.
Well, I would say that I should continue in the post unless there's somebody who really wants to do it. Only because I've got 10 years of being on the board. I've gotten up to the point where I'm on the operating committee and I'm the secretary for the organization. Whatever happens, I can find out as quickly as anybody.
I'll nominate Joe Jessamine.
Do
I
you,
think
second,
so.
do you bring Kevin with you,
Kevin is,
the alternate?
I have once, all right, and the other times they have it at like 9:30 in the morning on a snow day, or, you know, we haven't been meeting extremely regularly because the ash landfill is shut down, and we're trying to get a price in place for the property that we own right beside the trash to energy plant down in Pennacook. We still don't have all the particulars, but there's, it's in the works. And there may well be a proposal coming before us shortly to sell that piece of property. And the money would be divided according to how much trash we've dumped at the incinerator and the resulting ash. Okay, well, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
and then Kevin still remains as the alternate.
Well, I would,
I move that.
and I'll second that. Is there any discussion? All those who are in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Next is Energy Committee. Joe Jessamine is in seat 1 and John Scanlon is in seat 2.
I move we keep them just that way.
You have a lot of meetings, I know it's tough to attend.
It's just me and John, we don't have a quorum. We're looking
Do
for
you meet next door?
volunteers.
Yeah, I would like to
If we
ask
had a meeting, it would
yeah.
be over there.
if any residents would like to help out on the energy committee, to look for Greg. If Greg would like to, or any other, yeah.
And so,
That would be wonderful. We'll have to ask him the next time he comes around.
He's watching.
Yeah, well, we have a motion and a second on the floor to put John and I back in those positions. Is there any other conversation about it? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Okay, next is Belknap Economic Development Council. I am the designee for that council, and it's a one-year appointment, so if you want me to stay on.
So moved.
Second?
All right.
All those in favor, please say
Aye.
aye. Opposed?
Everybody jump on that.
Before we could go any further, the ayes have it, it's unanimous.
Okay. Lakes Region Mutual Fire Aid, Chief Sitar is in seat 1 and Catherine Dawson is the alternate.
A motion to,
Sounds like an
Well, I am a fire commissioner too.
well, I would nominate Chief Sitar for
Well, she's retired.
the position, seat 1, and Eric Pyra for seat 2.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's
Okay.
unanimous.
Excuse me, the Housing Standards Board, Selectman Peter Fogg is currently the Selectman's.
Now, what is that committee about?
Inspections.
Was that coming up with the
I
housing
think,
standards?
I haven't been to any meetings, so I can't tell you what it's supposed to be.
So
Yeah.
at this point, are we still having the standards?
They may, but for people with JOBs, it's tough to meet
Hmm.
during their assigned times.
So maybe they need to have them in the times that it's mutually agreed upon. Sometimes you have to do that, whether it be at 4 o'clock or 4:30, early enough that they can have the selectmen present. This is housing standard is an important meeting. It's it defines the inspections and what goes on and the parameters in which they do the inspections. How often, when, where, what, how. Sometimes it needs to be changed, sometimes they don't need to be changed. My guess is that once it's in place, a couple of years, they'll be tweaking it to amendments, and the ones that amended are the board. And you'll want someone on that board that's going to speak to that,
I nominate Pat Constantino for that position.
as long as we can get them to meet at a reasonable time.
We'll
I'm
have
fine with it.
we'll have a discussion period. Is there a second? Second. So, how's that again, Pat?
Aye.
Shut up from now on, okay?
Okay,
I don't
moving
bring
on.
him
All
up
those in
as an
favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? It's unanimous.
Okay, the last one we have is the Police Building Study Committee, which they have completed their task as directed by the board. Obviously, we're successful at town meeting, so the question to this board is, do you want to reconstitute that going forward or end the committee?
There was some kind of a proposal by Mr. LaChapelle to continue the committee, to continue working with the people that are putting together the contractors and stuff like that, because otherwise we're going to end up having to sit on all of those meetings. We can get reports on these things, and then we'll have the ultimate votes to accept or not. But Pat?
We, Jeannie, I, and Tim, and Milestone, and Gary Goodrow met today. So, in turn, we can discuss the meeting a little bit later, and because there's some other things that we have to bring up. We can bring them up on my report, or Jeannie's, it doesn't matter. But as far as it concerns the committee, it's highly recommended that there's just one point person with the town of Tilton and Milestone combination of Milestone and Gary Goodwill. So it has to be somebody that's here in Tilton, that is going to be on the job site at least once a week, that's going to be the ability to approve any changes so we talked about it, and it really is recommending not to continue the meeting, because what's going to happen there is that the meeting's gone, you're going to get the police building committee, and then you're going to meet with them, and then that's going to delay, if they have contractors on site and something comes up, it's going to delay that process. Whereas if we had a point person like Jeannie or Tim, which we're going to recommend Jeannie tonight, and had Jeannie as the point person and meeting with Milestone, because that's what we're paying them for, is construction management, meeting with them once a week and getting any change orders and things like that. There's no need to have that committee continue, although we've done a great job in 18 months of real hard work. I get that, but going forward, the more people that you have in the delving into it and, links to the chain, there are more apps to have miscommunications and things like that. And we really want it to go forward. They're ready to go and process this in April start. So the less is more in this case.
Is there anybody else?
I just thought maybe we could table this till after we do the discussion on what it's gonna look like coming up, and if we could proceed.
I'll
But tabled
second that.
only for this meeting, it will be.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
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 No other,
Okay, no, that's it, now you're on to minutes.
what about
Okay.
liaison?
Liaison.
We do,
The police.
town hall, the public works garage, and
Didn't
the
do
police
that last
department.
time.
Are you still going to remain as liaison to public works in town hall?
I think the town administrator should have that as part of their job function,
Agree.
quite frankly, and you don't
Like,
need to
well,
be.
let's just make it as part of it. Then we don't have to have it every year. Come on. All right.
Is there any opposition to that? Okay, there you go. And you don't get a vote this time. You're thinking you're in merit.
Not narrative.
All right.
Should just bring their name, please, on the table, see if anyone notices.
I'd like to bring the minutes of 3/12/20 to the floor for discussion.
Now, let's just go back over one thing, the police liaison. I'd like to keep that until such time as we have a contract. And then let the town administrator take over the liaison if the board's willing to do that.
I thought your being the liaison was more about the police department, union,
It is,
that kind of thing.
it is, but I think that we'll go into detail later.
Okay.
Look at it, sir.
Page 2. Underline, at the end of the first sentence, the failures which have occurred in the base course and the preventative measures for the wearing course, because it's a, yeah. And the preventative measures, because we haven't done the wearing course, so what are we gonna do different so it doesn't play the part?
The preventative measures.
Yeah, well, what's the plan for the wearing course?
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, because they can't just put it on there.
Okay.
July when it's
I
dry.
did talk, just FYI, I did talk to Kevin about that a little bit, and he said in the contract, I don't know anything about this, but he said in the contract that was in the tab, is it tab? That was mixed in, that doesn't make any sense. When Kevin comes, he can talk about it, because I'm not.
You don't need an emulsion or a tack coat unless you're doing on asphalt. On gravel, you just lay down the binder. and base. That's fine.
was no, when we, I don't know this for certain, so I'm gonna ask this question. I can't remember back to what we did. When the sergeants, when we went from corporal to sergeant, because most of the state is, most of the state went from corporals to sergeants instead of corporals, so we named them sergeants. In our minutes, we included that there was no money increase for the sake of the minutes, and I don't see that we put that here in the promotion.
Is that necessary here?
I'm asking that
I wouldn't
as a
think so.
question. Should we or should we not?
I think that came up in a prior selectmen's meeting. I'll go back and check the minutes. I think it is important that you have it documented somewhere.
I think
But
we
if it
discussed
wasn't-
this several times.
Right.
If somebody reads this, you know,
But if
in
it
3
wasn't-
years from now,
right.
would they know to look at it a couple weeks ago?
Right, well, so I guess the point is that if it wasn't said last week, you can't put it in, but you can put it in when Gail corrects the minutes for the next meeting, she can put it in there. But I do believe, that was discussed,
Actually, we're talking about it right now, and it would be in the minutes from this meeting.
yes. would be-
Right, that's what you
yes.
said. If it wasn't talked
On page 3 of 3, the FYI, I believe that I said, see if they bud, is supposed to be, is that, you know, we're flowering trees.
Where are you?
But really, it should be next, first paragraph under FYI, see if they bud.
Because the trees don't grow.
What do the other do?
Flowers.
Maples, no,
Unless they
maples
have
will flowers.
Yeah, those-
Anyone
So
with a
that-
seed has
so
to have a
that
flower.
happens, but not those trees.
They have, no, they wouldn't. There's
So-
a crappy maples, I don't know if there's a Norway or,
I believe that I said bud because.
if you get a seed, there's a flower, it may
Okay.
not look
I will
flowers.
check it. Okay.
Are there any other comments or corrections? I make a motion to accept the minutes of March. Do you have it?
No,
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of Thursday, March 12th, 2020 as corrected or amended.
Second,
That's touch. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? We have one abstention.
Wait for the last.
Before you move on to item number 2, the new police department, Tim had a weekly report for you, and I think you wanted to try to get in and.
Well, just very briefly, there's a few things to sign, and you're more than welcome, obviously, to review them. The MS 232 is our report to the state. It's in the to-be-signed folder, and it is essentially what was voted on at town meeting in a financial report. So it reflects the warrant Article 3 passing and the change to the operating budget. So that's in there. Once you sign it, I upload it to DRA's portal, and that's one of our requirements to be done 20 days after town meeting. So it does not have to be done tonight, but there was very little change, so I would encourage you to sign it. In addition, in the to-be-signed folder, there are letters to both Franklin Savings Bank and Charter Trust Company relative to the election of trustees. So it's removing the former trustee, adding a new trustee, and that's required each year so that they can process paperwork for the new person and have that in their records. The next item is a little more involved. So I have 2 letters in the to-be-signed folder, one of which to create a capital projects fund. I'm going to go to the B item first. So with the passage of the warrant Article 3 for the police building, it's standard practice for a large project like that to be set up as a capital project. A capital project is tracked separately, all the revenues and expenses separate from the operating budget, and it makes reporting a lot easier. It also doesn't collapse into the general fund at the end of the year. It stays open until the project is complete, and it has to be created by the selectmen, and it can only be closed by the selectmen as well. So, so that's one item, and then the, relative to that, I'm asking for approval to move the expense of the architecture and engineering fees into that capital projects fund, because when we go to do the bond, we will include the, whether we include the 5-year or not, it's the appropriate place to have that listed. Otherwise, it directly goes against our fund balance. So those
aren't in here.
they're not in there?
No. Any of the things
Not
that
what
make
you're looking at?
Well,
to be signed, right?
Oh, okay. I will.
The trust funds are.
I'll check the. I'll check the printer. It could well be still on the printer. It got a little hectic this afternoon. I will double check that in a second. The second item is a budget transfer. Are they not in there?
no, the
Trust funds.
trust funds are,
Hang on one
the MS
second.
232 is,
Oh, I believe they are in there. Once I hand it to you.
do they need signatures? Yes, start them around
Yes, please. So the other item is authorizing a budget transfer due to a change in personnel at the PD. In the health insurance line, there's $21,205, which was the difference between a buyout and a family plan. And I'm recommending that we move that money into the town hall health insurance line. What that does is basically make it unavailable to spend within that budget, and we will know that that money, I mean, it'll be in a line that is for the same purpose, same general purpose, and that we'll know that that is available at some point during the year if it's needed somewhere else. But there's a letter in there regarding that, and then I just wanted to note for you also that the monies that we budgeted in the 2020 operating budget for the 10-year note for the architect.
Before you go on,
Yes.
can we go back to the 194.5? Did we agree that we would finance that, and at such time the Article 3 passes, we would move it over to the bond? Or are you asking us that now?
No, I'm not asking to finance it, I'm asking to move it into the capital projects fund. Because it's
Right, because we already financed it, right?
No, so we,
Thought we financed it to Franklin Savings Bank at such an interest.
right, so the,
Sign everything?
if you recall, that was the original move, but subsequent to that, I had come back to the selectmen and explained that because of RSA 33(3)(c), we could not go beyond 5 years. The maximum was 5 years because it's considered a preliminary expense for a capital project of that nature. So in the budget, we had a 10-year budget item. So that had to be corrected. So right now, if it's put into, if it's combined during this process this year when we're working on financing, there would be no payment until 2021. What I'm asking here is not related to the financing, but moving that money moving the expense into the capital projects fund.
Then what do you mean here by
So-
the amount of the principal and interest of $16,500?
So the $16,503 represents the amount that was put into the operating budget for that 10-year note.
Okay,
And what I need to do is talk to the bond counsel and auditor to be sure that, I believe one of the options would be that we could use that money to reduce the amount that we would finance. But I would want to check with them first, and if we got to that point, we would do a transfer from the operating account of the debt, interest, and principal into the capital projects fund to reflect a reduction of the 194.5 But again, I'm not asking to do that now, that's just what I would think would make sense. If we're going to finance it, let's finance the lesser amount, since we've already raised and appropriated some money for it for 2020. And, but this is requesting the creation of the fund and moving 194.5 expense into that fund.
So we need I'm sorry, Joe.
Yes, go ahead.
So we need a motion to create a police building construction capital project fund.
Yes, and to move the expense of the architectural and engineering money into it. And then there is a letter, though, that states that I'm requesting the board sign.
We need to say it out loud, though. We just signed it loud.
You wanna read it? And then hand it to Tim. Here's the one on top.
So this is authorizing it, so we have to move that I move that we create a police building construction capital project fund. And move the expense for the architectural and engineer fees from 2019 into the PD capital projects fund.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Right?
Yeah, with the associated, there'll be a number of lines that are in there, so I'll take care of that.
We don't have to get into it.
No.
Is there discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Okay, then, on the back, just a couple of very quick things, I won't belabor these, but our cash flow during the emergency meeting this last week, for those that were here, the 3 selectmen signed a $700,000 drawdown that is going to go into the bank on the 30th of March, and that gives us additional cash through the end of April. Basically what I'm saying here is that it's somewhat of an uncertain environment, so where I usually run our accounts very low prior to tax bills, I'm going to keep more money in there just in the event there's any disruption in getting money. So that was just an FYI, because you'll probably see more frequent and larger drawdown requests coming. And then,
I have a question.
yeah,
I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
In regards to the issue with Cindy and Leaning, if this continues and we're not able to by law because the governor says we can't lean, correct? But if what's going on right now with
Right.
COVID-19 and the state of emergency that New Hampshire is in right now, according to the governor, will she be able to still continue to lean in her typical May, the end of May, June? I'm not sure that that's possible.
I don't know.
Then you wouldn't be able to draw down, you wouldn't have that influx of people.
I thought the order was
money.
for eviction as opposed to tax lien. Thank you.
Well, we will take over a house if that tax lien is, there's 3 taxes liens out there, then we own that. So with that, we can evict, so.
According to her today, she has a window, and she's not sure if that's going to change. She's going to reevaluate it. But what I'm saying here is that given we normally get anywhere from $110,000 to $210,000 from our leaning activities, we may not see that. So we have plenty to borrow.
Okay.
So we're not going to be in any world of hurt, but it's just another question mark out there. And she hasn't said anything definitively at this time. So the item 5, so given how things are in the economy, there's a lot of stimulus talk in the federal government, and the last time we had a real jolt to the economy in the housing bubble and the financial crisis, there was a lot of money set aside for local projects, municipal projects. And there was a lot of money available and very low cost. So this is just to say that, you know, who knows if anything like that is going to materialize, but if it does, we really should try our best to take advantage of that, considering we have a shovel-ready project. And that was the big thing before. They were throwing money at people that had shovel-ready projects. So we do have one. It's just a matter of whether there's going to be anything that we can take advantage of. Number 6 is that
Just as an insert, so I did speak with the state and some other folks that don't have an economic development council. At this point, they've heard of no funds available. That doesn't mean that won't change, but right now.
Number 6, as it relates to additional costs we might incur because of the COVID-19 coronavirus, we can track those expenses and we'll probably get reimbursed by FEMA at some point in time or some agency. So we are trying to capture those. And then as you might still be getting these annoying reports in your email and me following up very quickly afterwards saying please disregard it. I'm trying to get on top of that. There's just been a lot of other interruptions, so I've had to reprioritize that. But that will be coming very, very soon. Lastly, there's just a couple of other things here. So we have the capability of broadcasting these meetings, the Selectmen's meeting or other meetings over the internet. Whether or not you wish to have public comment during it or not is totally up to the meeting organizers. And there's a number of ways to do it, but I just want to let you know that the capability exists, and that also DRA is accepting electronic signatures by using a DocuSign product. I'm going to look into it in case this extends for a long period of time, but a 5-user license I think was $40 a month. I'm not sure exactly what we would need, but I just want to let you know that there are some options coming out for meetings, both in signature and also broadcasting. Other things, the PD has already made a request.
Excuse me, Tim.
Yes.
Do you have any idea about we got to do this in public component? If we lock the door, even if we broadcast it, are we still in compliance?
So no, and Jeannie and I talked about if you do have the public attend, particularly upstairs, there's nothing to say that there couldn't be a rail or a piece of tape set up so that the public is back, 10, 12 feet, and there's 2 rows designated for the public. There's nothing to say where the public has to sit currently, but you could have some control over that.
Mm-hmm.
And then clean, appropriately
I have a
afterwards.
meeting, in my report, I have a meeting tomorrow with MHMA, and they have been pressing the governor's office to address this issue of public meetings and having the public come in. So I'm hoping by tomorrow we'll have some answers. But Tim's right, as of right now, you're having a public meeting, we have to have the door open. That may change depending on what we hear tomorrow. It may be that you have your selectmen's meetings and the public isn't allowed because of what's going on.
All the conference from home.
Which your Chromebooks all have the capability of a free product is Google Hangouts, or Hangouts Meet, they call it now, and works very well. There are many, many different options. They all work pretty much the same. So the PD has requested to get started immediately with evidence cataloging, which, if you recall, there were requests in the budget in prior years for the evidence module. That was not in our spec of the building. The last quote we received back in 2017 was $2,500 and $450 for maintenance. I've asked TriTech, which is IMC's company, for a quote, and I wasn't able to get one for your meeting today, but I just wanted to reintroduce it to you. What they're looking to do is catalog all their existing evidence so that they don't bring over things that have to be recatalogued once they're in the new building. They want to get it right before it goes in and have it properly cataloged and housed in the new building.
Don't they, excuse me,
Yes.
won't they have to check it when it gets to the new building anyway?
I-
Yeah, you take a kilo of cocaine from there. Once you've brought it over to 132, isn't there a chain of evidence requirement? And they're gonna say, yup, kilo of cocaine.
Scouts on
I
there.
I would think so, but if they don't have it cataloged ahead of time to be able to check in, then I think that's where they're looking to try to save some time.
John,
I thought we said they were not getting a barcode scanner and printer. Where all of a sudden we are getting it? We discussed this
We're
before.
discussing it. That's what they would
Well, so-
like to do.
Well, that's what they would like, to go with the
Like
evidence
to do.
module.
Shouldn't the chief?
Yeah,
Police department,
I was just reintroducing this so that you're prepared when the chief does come in to
Chief
talk to
will be
you.
here next week.
But, we have to
If
discuss
we do next week,
Um,
at our next meeting.
So this would be like a, just
This is-
a,
this is
this
just
is what
kind-
left and this is what.
Yeah,
came
this
in,
is,
and
this is just other items for another meeting. This is just kind of.
Okay, let's stick with this meeting, please.
You know, yep.
We're trying to make this short and sweet.
Yep, so I just have two other things there.
Okay.
One of which is, I'm sure the chief will discuss IMC Mobile. That's a higher cost, but it does have a payback to it. Also, I'm anticipating I'll get a request for additional users. I'm gonna put that off into the 2021 budget because they shouldn't need them until 2021. And then VPN licenses, one of the additional costs that we may have and see currently because of coronavirus. I've had more and more requests for remote access, and where the department head is allowed for remote access, if it's in a sensitive area, certain people need that special VPN license to get in. And they're not extraordinarily expensive. I mean, it's not that much money. I can cover it in my budget, but I just want to let you know those things are ongoing. That's all I have.
Okay.
Not even 1 week from voting on the budget, and we have a list from the PD. Expected at least 2 weeks.
Oops.
Okay, well, I'm sure we'll be having that discussion furiously at a later date. But now we're talking about the new police station.
Yes.
So what about the new police station specifically?
Did you want to take the lead on that?
So first off, what we would need to do is, Board of Selectmen need to take control of the property, because right now it's in the Parks Commission, and we're taking over the building construction and all of that. We should make a motion to take control of the Route 132 property, town of Tilton property.
Is there a second? Okay, there's a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any discussion? Peter?
Parks Commission is currently in discussion with a youngster from Northfield to set up a softball field so that girls softball has a field in the two towns to play on. So I wasn't sure when ground was being broken if they could do softball this year. Next year would be out since no one
Supposed to be
could.
done by the end of the
Supposed to break ground
Fall.
in April.
April.
Okay.
as far as I know.
Also, on the, there was a flyer handed out that Chairman Hardy had done that showed in June, knockleball at the park.
It's on the list.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained?
Just if I could suggest, Joe, you and I had a discussion about perhaps this board considering setting up a committee who can start the process of looking at what this building is done.
That's on us.
Oh,
Because we talked about it.
okay,
Right.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm all for that too. So it, in lieu of that vote, we now need to,
Legalize that.
as part of the owner's responsibility in getting this done, talking with Milestone and Gary Goodrow, the architect, we need to take the goalposts down. So that those need to come down, so we can get a highway to do that.
I would say that was.
Well, they may have to rent something, but yeah, I suppose. Probably gonna have to rent
Put 'em
some
in.
sort of, friends who wanna swam football, you're gonna need a crane or something, I think,
To
to,
pull it up.
because otherwise it's gonna, what we have, it's gonna collapse, I think.
I'm thinking that we should have Kevin go take a look at it and send us a recommendation about what's required to do.
Can it be stored on site?
And salvage.
You know,
And we're gonna
against the
reuse
fence.
them.
Right, but if you store them on
Yeah,
site.
yeah, I'm not suggesting we get rid of them. I'm
Right.
saying-
That is a yes or no, maybe. If you give that back to Parks, they may not be putting football there.
Oh, and that might be the way it works out. That I
They're
don't
they're
know.
leaning to put softball.
Softball there? Okay,
Right,
well,
there
that's
you
even
go.
better, I like
Yeah,
softball.
no, it's, well,
Okay, and the next thing on there is the June sixth knockleball. We
well,
need to notify.
well, now that the bond passed, you've just changed ownership, I would say that we need to
make a send
notify Parks.
Parks.
A, we've taken this back, please cancel any events you have forthcoming at the 132 field.
Knuckleball would probably work right over here at the riverfront, wouldn't it, in the
Hang on.
flat space?
Possibly.
How much space do we need? When they do the construction, we could still be using part of.
It's an active
Yeah.
construction site. You
Yeah.
don't want
Yeah.
any
Hang
liability.
on, let me just finish.
Okay.
So that they're going to be using a certain specific area, it's laid out, and typically construction fencing goes up to, keep people from wandering onto the site or stealing things from the police department, whatever, so, to contain the site, and then we still have the rest of the field.
Well, we'll see what happens when the time comes. I would guess we can talk about this when we get closer. The Parks Commission doesn't even know yet.
The next, yeah,
Well, one of them does.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, we
one
should
of
send
them
an
does.
official notice to the Parks
Yeah.
Commission.
we really should send an official notice. The other thing is that we need to hire, I guess, hopefully John Turner group to do the geotech. Now, the reason why they're asking us to go ahead with John Turner is because John Turner is the one that did the borings, and they know where the borings are, so we're just continuing that process because they already know where they are. And there's one boring there that has organic material that needs to be removed, one of the borings, and so they know all of this, so we need to get a motion from the board tonight to accept John Turner as the person doing the geotherm and geotech work for this project.
And that was budget.
And that's budgeted for in this project, within this project. It's already budgeted for, it's
Is
just.
that
the
your
person
motion?
goes- If that's so moved.
Second? Anybody? Eric Pyro?
So
Okay.
what's the estimate for Turner then?
15,000. It's in there, it's 15,000, but it may be a little bit on the high side. That's what was budgeted.
Meaning high side, meaning
Maybe
it's gonna be
lower.
17,000
Or
or?
maybe lower.
Okay. No, that's a guaranteed maximum price, wasn't it?
Not for the geotech.
That's an owner's,
Mm.
that's under an
Okay,
owner's
okay.
portion of it.
Yeah.
It's not lost.
Okay.
Did we take a vote on
Still
I
motion on
seconded
the
it,
table.
that was
Yeah,
it.
no.
Okay, yeah, I got seconded. All those in favor of Pat's motion, Well, first of all, is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous.
So lastly, is the committee, Jeannie, you want to run with that?
Let's do it.
So, we had a discussion this morning with Gary Goodrow, the architect, and Milestone, Pat, myself, and Tim, and the chief was involved in the conversation as well about how do we move forward with this project? Do we really need to constitute another committee, or would it be better just working with a smaller group and always, checking in with the selectmen? And it seemed to be the consensus of the group that that would be the better way to go, is to just, there's no need to have a committee, and we just run with the project. We talked about, who that would be. It could either be Tim or me. Tim did a kind of little flow chart in his office on his whiteboard about how that would work out, and in between the two of us, we've got it pretty clearly defined, and either one of us could do it. It's just what we, I guess, want the board to be mindful of is this is gonna be a big project. And we take, we had this discussion, do we push some of it off to Milestone? What pieces to Milestone?
We had discussed two things, the tower, the physical tower, not the dispatch consoles, but
Utilities.
the tower and the utility connections. So the tower was roughly $100,000, the utility connections, $15,000.
So if we don't, we have to contract with somebody to
And
do those
oversee it.
projects, right? And then oversee it.
And then be there to oversee it, yes. If we contract them, then they oversee it.
Is there extra money involved?
Yeah.
How much extra?
20,000.
You
So
get
that-
them to oversee it?
That piece.
Well, if everything, if we took the entire owner's items, which doesn't make sense because there's a number of them that really don't apply, payments to, the water company, in total it would be just over 20,000 if it all went under their 3.95% fee. But in going through each of the owner's items, the ones that seem to make the most sense were the utility connections and the tower, because the tower is a constructed item. And not that they would necessarily be constructing the tower, but they would have the project management of that with the company that was going to do it, which was that, the name escapes me at the moment, but so there was $217,000 in total of dispatch and tower. So this would just be $100,000 for the tower, which was what the approximate cost of that was. So that works out to be about $11,000, I think, in their fees.
Those-
Things we
those two.
identified. Yep.
And one of the things we wouldn't put over is the access control and all of that. Right?
It could. I mean, the access control surveillance, that could. But my concern would be that where there were some very specific, very, very specific items from the PD, that if it did, we'd have to make sure that there weren't any changes made by Milestone, that they still went with our vendor and our plan, but that they were able to manage it within their scope. I think it could be done either way. The way we mapped it out was not including access controls for Milestone, not including surveillance for Milestone. That's right.
John?
So the tower is 100%, we are making it, it was my understanding that they were proposing it still, but it was never straightened out completely, and that they were looking for money, other ways to
It was in the 4.7 million.
Yeah, and they're
Up
still
to
looking for
maximum.
other money.
Oh,
I didn't think they were actually doing the tower, they were looking into it, those were the maximum costs.
We always did. I think Catherine had a problem with the tower and voiced
Yeah.
her opinion on the tower, but we had the tower in there.
The
from
add-ons
the
were the
beginning.
room divider
Yeah,
and
Metal
The roof.
And
metal
sewer.
roof
Yeah,
and
then
the
the sewer
carport.
part, right, the copper. But we always had the tower.
Tower was on there, Catherine didn't like
It was
but-
objected by,
It was, Steve, that if we did get the tower, perhaps we could have it funded by other people renting
That's
space
still
in the
possible.
tower.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, you
But
mean
that was
other
if we got it
carriers.
to help cover for
Like a
the
cell
tower, and I
That's
thought we were
still-
going to get that first.
that's still possible, to have it funded by other sources. That's still very possible,
We pretty much.
but we're
queued
still
our-
getting it.
We've queued ourselves up, we've had that meeting with the lady, and we're pretty much, would you say, Tim, assured that we'll get that funding?
Oh, for EMPG grant, absolutely. I thought you were
EMPG
talking-
grant was for what?
The EMPG grant contains one of the consoles, the generator, and the exterior surveillance of the building, and that's $125,000. And I've talked with them about our match money, everything else, everything's in place. We don't even have to wait until further down the road, which we've had to do with other projects. So the funding should take place much sooner. At least that was the last I knew. I thought you were talking about other people renting space on the tower. I thought that's what you were referring to.
That's still a possibility down the road. Belknap County, I mean, it's not like I can go and rent a spot on the tower, but there's a possibility because it's an
Well,
EOC center.
There is a tower just north of there on 132 that probably is even taller because of the topology. So I don't know if we would get a lot of interest in our tower.
But we'll see.
Yeah.
Pat, you got anything else?
Well,
please?
there
Oh,
was
sorry,
one more
sorry.
thing in the tower, and I pointed out that the plans didn't even show a place to locate any of the electronics for the tower. Did they straighten that out?
That was all in the, I want to say it's ACS, isn't it? Yeah. As far as I know, the radio equipment, all the radio equipment was being housed in the computer electronics room next to the electrical room. And what I was told was that the components aren't that big.
When I spoke to the architect at the meeting, there's like, oh, we forgot that. Because I pointed out, as we all know, we took a tour of Trinity Church, and there's some hefty cables that go through
Right,
for
yes.
things like that, and they'd have to be located somewhere in the building. So that's why I thought it was.
I'm very familiar with Trinity. I
Yeah.
was the one
And
that did that
the
contract.
radios, you can't put those in there with all that other stuff. It's RF issues.
Well, so I believe it was resolved between ACS and the architect at the end. And that we had plenty of space for it within that room. That's what I was told. So,
This would be
Pat, you have other things?
No, I think that we need to really figure out the committee going forward, whether we have a committee or not, and whether Jimmy steps up and, with the understanding that it's taking a precedent, in her life as town administrator here, that the police building will be taking a little bit of her time.
Actually, I would imagine it would take a considerable amount of
That
your
was-
time.
that was a
in
joke.
any case.
That was a joke.
Well, and the way we kind of mapped it out, not that this is how it would work, but there are a number of items that, so for the access control surveillance, the owner's items, those would be between IT, so I would be working, Jeannie, I'd be working with Jeannie on that. Through finance, I'd be working on EMPG grant and also the financing, so I'd be working with her on those two items. I felt as though the two items that the PD needed to have responsibility for were the furniture, fixture, and equipment, and also the Emergency Operations Center audio-visual, because they had some very specific wants, which
we applied a fixed budget for that of $25,000, which hopefully will, it won't accommodate everything they want, but they'll have to trim down some of their items.
That's for the furniture and,
No, the 25,000 is just the EOC audiovisual equipment and remote and all that sort of thing. And then there was Milestone that she'd be working with, and then also there were some other items, you know, payment of the Tilton Northfield Aqueduct Company, you know, some, you know, the managing the Goodrose contract, you know, a few other minor things, more minor things.
When can we expect a construction schedule from Milestone showing who's going in when with all the different contractors?
So
soon.
that's coming with their contract.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're working on that.
Yeah, they're working on the contract as we speak. We have Gary's contract already, but we're working on the other.
The other piece that didn't come up and hasn't come up yet is the fundraising piece, and I would see myself also working with the chief and things about that in terms of doing that fundraising piece. And then having, I think what we talked about is having Captain Martin be the point person for the PD on this project.
Right. And I very much want to keep in the loop with what's going on. I've been 10 years out of my 11 years with this project, and I very much like to keep in the loop with it from time to time, but I'm nowhere can attend the meetings that you folks are going to attend.
We all want to.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, if there's a loop, I want to be in it.
yeah.
There's somewhere our signatures have to go on lines and stuff, so I want to know what's going on.
But there will be insignificant changes that Jeannie will be able to make a decision on, that we won't have to go back to a committee, that we won't have to go back to and wait. We can make a decision to say, you know, give her the permission, if you would, to say, okay, you know, this is, whether it be 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 to a max, and then if anything change order above that, come back to us and see us, and then we'll approve it. But
And I would suggest
Small.
if you do that, I'd also make Tim part of that.
absolutely, when I say Jean, I'm really including you, Tim. I don't mean to exclude you, but it's, you folks can work on it together. It's a joint thing, even though you're gonna be named at 20%. We can work on it together.
Change orders, these would not exceed our total amount.
Absolutely, and it may not even, you know, like Milestone said, that the contingency is there, and they're gonna find the best prices and the best practices out there for us to make sure that our GMP is met or lower.
We have to also make sure that we encourage that,
Right,
get them to do it, because
absolutely.
we just say, that's okay, there's a number on it. It's,
Right.
every penny we can save on this, bid it out again, have some more confirmed numbers. All the contractors that bid on the stuff were on a very short time when they provide that stuff. You
Well,
didn't
it's
have
pretty
final
much
plans.
bid out.
It's done.
It's already,
It's done.
all the bidding
Yeah.
is done.
And those are the
it's-
final numbers?
And, no,
Okay.
they are
that's what
not
I'm
the
saying.
final
Yeah.
numbers, because there is a lot of, like electrical that he explained to us, when they did it with an estimate number that this is what we felt that it's gonna come in within a range, it won't go over that. So the bidding portion is done, who's going to do what is done. The numbers may come in lower, they won't come in higher, they're
Right.
gonna come in lower,
Yeah,
if
'cause
anything,
Typically,
because, right.
when you have a rush job like that, and they say, we're gonna give you a number, we're gonna go over, you're gonna make sure it's real
Well,
high.
because they did it 5 months ago.
Yeah.
So 3 months ago, some of them, 3 months ago, 4 months ago. So you have to understand that they're bidding what prices may be in the future. So that's what they estimated. Right.
It's a little different than that.
Mhm.
They put some money on there because they were a little short time to do it. They want
Right.
to make sure they didn't undercut themselves.
Right.
I mean, I work in the field every day.
What about the question at town meeting, though, probably gonna use local
Exactly.
contractors?
When they went out for bid, they asked the committee for local bids. And there were several people that they contacted in the local bids, and we saw the bid list, and asked whether or not they were interested in doing it. I know Dawson Concrete was one of them. And at the time,
Wasn't interested.
there was a lot of people that didn't want to bid on it because it was too large a scale at the time. There is one person that wanted to bid on it, and we passed that name to Milestone today, and they may be able to work with the person that's doing paving. It's a paving person.
But we did ask Milestone today that if they were approached by any local contractors asking to bid on the job, that we were made aware of it, so that we wouldn't be hit from left field if we had a local contractor come up and say, you wanted to bid on
Right.
this.
But they posted it, and they went out, and they got lists, they got ideas, they got names from any name that we threw out. They wrote it
Oh,
down.
somebody at town
and
meeting
asked.
specifically, as Eric said, came up and
Right.
said, will local contractors be able to bid on this?
And they
And
were.
the answer, no,
Yeah,
will, not did, but will local contractors be able to bid on
It
this?
sounded like that person was under the impression that this has not gone out to bid, and there would be a bidding process, a bidding window coming up in the coming weeks,
And we never
Where-
said that.
where we're ready
The
to
bids
go.
are done.
I didn't hear that. Sorry, I
Yeah,
didn't
it
hear.
was
I didn't hear the
I think it
will.
was-
Otherwise, I would have corrected it, because I did not hear them say.
They have, so,
But that particular person, Brian was there in the room and did talk to, remember this morning, Tim, don't you remember that person who asked that, it was an electrical person.
He's an electrician,
And-
yeah.
And Brian did talk to him.
Oh,
Didn't
okay.
he say that this morning?
No, I thought he was referring to the paving company.
No.
I didn't get that he spoke to the person
So
at
he
town meeting.
didn't speak to him?
I thought that he said he had.
He may have, I didn't
Because
catch
there are
that.
some pieces that they're still gonna look and see.
Look
if they
into
get it
local.
less,
Oh,
But yeah.
okay.
Yeah, because this morning he said he's still gonna reach out to Dawson Concrete to see if they're ready to have it.
Right.
Yeah. So that there is, so, I'll make a motion that we disband and send our thanks to the police building study committee on a job well done, and appoint Jeannie as lead and Tim as second to be point persons with Milestone Construction and Gary Goodrow throughout the police project, the building project itself for the next year. Second, can you accept second?
I'd accept third, to tell you the
How about-
truth.
How about, I'll be the project manager and you'll be the finance IT.
Right. As
Sounds
amended.
like a good idea.
That's, because that's essentially what it is.
Yeah.
I'll
As
second
amended.
it. Second as amended.
okay, you got all of that.
We got it.
You got
Okay,
that,
then.
Gail?
Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. That completes the police department then?
So the only other, Pat, I don't know if you wanted to mention, well, I think actually we did, the letter of agreement that you all signed back in August of 2019. They are now working on the contract for you to review and sign. That's, I believe, is what they're working on. That's it for the police department.
Okay, the next thing on our agenda,
Unless- Oh, we're going to talk about under your.
the next thing on the agenda is selectmen's reports, and John Scanlon is up first.
I'm first. So, anyway, I don't know if any of you were up to hear the traffic at 5 o'clock this morning around town, being on Main Street. It sounds like the NASCAR event. I think all the seniors are out there rushing to get their first day
Market
at 5
basket.
o'clock. And I've never seen so much spry people out there dashing to the store. These are no tea drinking grandmas out there. They were going all over the place. I was trying to drive around them and running
Oh.
through traffic lights. So clear the roads between 5 and 7 on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday so the seniors can eat.
And
Well,
thank you to Market
A
Basket
huge
for doing
thanks
that.
to the man, Brian,
That's what I,
for doing that
so
for our
it's just
seniors.
a great thing.
They are opening Market Basket. We had a long chat with Brian at the other day.
Well, it's chain wide that they're
So-
doing that.
It's chain wide, but they are opening the store from 5:30 to 7 for seniors only.
As of
60
today. I was
60 and
there.
above,
Tuesday,
there.
Wednesday, and Thursday. The other thing I've got
Market Basket.
is, I don't know if anybody else was familiar with it. We've got the lot that we've been trying to get something to go into across the street from Lowe's and make something that's nice there. Unfortunately, I didn't take a look at it too much because it looked like it was all going out through the traffic light. However, it turns out we have a driveway entering onto Morrison Ave, and it's a sole driveway for one of their parking lots. So it's for 29 parking spaces. So all, I took those pages out, because I was looking at them. So all 29 parking spaces in this driveway, the only entrance is on Morrison Ave. So everybody that, when they come to work, they say it's for employees, when they come to work, they'll have to turn in down by Mayor's Welding and drive up Morrison Ave into the parking lot and drive out. Likewise, if they do it.
Where's the parking lot?
Gotta be a lower level than,
Is it at, is
Exactly.
the parking lot at where Mayor's Welding is?
no, the other end,
It's way up by where the upholstery
yeah.
is?
Right behind
But
there.
that wasn't part of the original site plan.
No, but it's,
It hasn't been straight.
and
Yeah, it was.
I'm very disappointed in myself.
At least one thing was,
No, it
site
has not,
plan.
it never came before the planning board, and it is before the ZBA,
It did several years ago.
but not for this plan.
Well, I don't know
So if
if
I
I
can
plan it.
finish this, so, and I apologize, I took the 3 pictures of what I wanted to show you out, if I can send them over. So if you know Morrison Ave,
Mhm.
Morrison Ave comes around. This is the do not enter. And that way. Their driveway, or parking lot, is going to be right here. A little stop sign and a line here, and there's 29 cars here with a staircase that will bring people up to the level of the garage. The problem is that the only way that all these employees, these 6 employee parking, is to go in down by Mayor's. We have a lot of accidents that happen down there. We all know that the street itself is having difficulty because some people don't have parking spaces. It's not wide enough. It's a secondary plowing road. It's in real rough shape. It's not on the repavement plan. A lot of these neighbors who live on here, the houses are so close to the street that their driveways are blind drives. So if they back out or drive out and there's a lot of children, you're going to be dealing with traffic. So if you take 29 cars and if you have just one shift, you're talking 60 traffic a day, 60 cars going up and down that street. So if they go out to lunch, you're going to be adding another 2 trips. So you're going to be doubling that to 120 trips on the street that's residential. I don't know if they can just go and do that and turn one of our roads into that without going through the selectmen or getting driveway permits.
They go through zoning. That's,
And the other part of it
They
is,
still need a driveway permit for the parking.
I would expect.
Highway gives them.
the other part is they never notified any of the abutters other than the ones that have property right next to it.
That's all you need to do is
However-
direct the voters.
Hold on a minute.
However, here's the problem. All these people, their road, that small residential road, is essentially being the entrance to their parking lot, the whole road. There's no other way unless you go up this narrow road that has cars parked on both sides.
Joe, can I ask you?
Absolutely.
When the whole controversial issue about the sports place complex went in over in Auburn, and then it was being changed into the recovery place, they did not just limit the scope to the immediate abutters. Those that were affected on Auburn Street, they sent out notices to every one of those ones that were affected by that on Auburn Street. I don't understand why.
I'm guessing that Leanne did what she was supposed
It's
to
the
do.
abutters. You have to be either across the street or abutting the property.
But
If
we
two goes
already
down,
said-
you're out of luck.
But we set a precedent in that whole sports complex thing, because we sent it to more than just the abutters, because it was affected by the road and the traffic on the road.
I believe that at the planning board at the time, initially it was just the direct abutters, but then the planning board, in order to make it a project of regional impact,
Regional impact.
and then the town of Samberton, because that property was surrounded by a property that touched Samberton, and the town of Samberton was notified, and they know, however, it went through. But initially, it was the only people in all my time on the planning board that are ever noticed are direct abutters to a piece of property.
Mhm.
That is it. And that is all you legally are required to do.
I think we have an issue, because all of us here live on roads that are pretty much quiet roads and just the local people that travel on it. And if I was on, one of your roads, and I put in a commuter parking lot for 29 cars, people might be going for lunch too, and then didn't tell everybody on the road, and on the
Is-
corner, it would be,
Is the issue, Eric, there's not enough room in that huge parking lot where the dealership's gonna go for 29 cars for parking?
I don't know, because number one, it hasn't become, it didn't come before,
Oh, this
The
is.
It hasn't come to the
it
planning
didn't come, it
board.
didn't
It
come
hasn't
to,
even come to the zoning.
it has not done the zoning, but my question is, this is an ignorance question, is Morrison Road, Street, Avenue, one way?
no.
One way, half the way. You
No,
can't enter.
no, it's two-way,
Yeah.
all the way, it's a one-way entrance at one end.
Right,
Mhm.
one-way entrance, is what it is.
So-
One-way entrance.
Only because you have 29 cars that are gonna come in.
Yeah.
You're only gonna have 29 cars that go out the top 50 feet of that road, 100 feet, whatever, that little short piece that's gonna exit out onto Route 3. So,
No, not necessarily. They could be.
majority, I think, are gonna do that, because they're not gonna go back.
They can't make a left at the upper end, but they can make a left on the lower end. So if you
They
had to
can't make a left at the top end?
No,
Well,
You
oops,
can't.
I've broken the law a few times.
Well, there's a no left turn.
I've never seen it, and my daughter's boyfriend lives right at the top of Morrison.
I can tell you there's
I've seen it, I don't know if
We-
it's still there.
yeah, it is.
But
This is a big issue, and we already have people threatening lawsuits and stuff that came into a public meeting and said that over traffic and parking on that road. And so it's scheduled for a hearing, zoning board for an exception. Once they get that, they're done.
It still has to go through site plan.
Yeah,
review.
still has to go through the site plan.
For the planning board. I would encourage those people to go to the planning board,
So, but
or I don't know if it.
here's the thing, nobody knows about it.
Well, they need to, only the direct abutters have to know. That is all that is legally required. And if you legally fulfill that, someone needs to take charge in that neighborhood and spread the word, because you're only legally obligated to notice the direct abutters. And if that is anyone that touches that piece of property, or any of these, I think there's a merging of lot lines in there, so it would be, on that, because I think they're looking for like 9 variances.
14,
Right. Every time I look at it, the meeting gets canceled, so I stop looking at it, and now I don't have to worry about it, because I'm not, to the ZBA, or no one is,
No one is.
you know.
I don't know who's even on the zoning.
Well, there's a couple of people that applied for the zoning board who I've never heard of. I have no clue who these people are, or what they might represent, well, okay, we'll get to that later.
You know, and that's a big thing, so fortunately, I did see it. I'm going to notify the neighbors and stuff like that about it.
And when you're using the example of Autumn
Drive.
Yeah, Autumn Drive, I used to work there.
You should know where this is, yeah.
I tried to put it on the paper. But I believe a lot of these people were notified through word of mouth. You know, the neighbors talking to neighbors talking to neighbors. And, you know, that's how we got, I think, 70 to 80 people at a hearing.
Like Mr. Mead from Tilton.
Yeah, you know.
But it's pretty obvious when you have a big building that's changing hands that, you know, you want to watch what's going to happen there. But when you have a couple houses that are on dirt road, that's all of a sudden going to get changed.
We had on other
Just
issues,
to let you know, nobody had a clue.
on other notices, it goes to the landowner. The notices go to whoever's the registrar. So if they're a rental person, they may not get that, and that's up to the landlord.
Are you saying the butters didn't know, the butters who got the letters legally, they didn't?
I don't know
I
who they
just-
listed as butters.
I guess
because
I want to be really careful, because this is a public meeting, or a public, and people listen to it, and our employees do too, and I think our employees do their job, and you might not agree with the law, but they're following the law. So I just, when you say nobody was notified, it just concerns me.
We don't have to notify every resident on Morrison Street. You don't have to do that. You only have, if there's 3 houses that touch it, those are the only 3 people that get notified.
And to give you an idea, the way Pike used to do it, they'd have multiple parcels. So if their parcel abuts it, that's one of the abutters. The next guy is screwed because they have a separate parcel. They're following the law.
And that's what they've done, is
They
they've
bought
bought
the
up
houses.
those things, so
They
they
own
are
it.
the
So if
abutters.
they own the houses, they're the abutters. And that's legal.
Yeah, it's tough. But I
So-
think there's a
Yeah.
lot merger there, so.
So, but it's now getting out in the public.
Yeah, so we got that going on. Kevin, he's been out there with the crew, they did an excellent job. I don't know if you noticed the islands, they got the lights back working real good, they put the thing on the flagpole, they've been cleaning up down through the center of town and around.
I'm in quarantine, so I haven't noticed it.
And so that's been a real big thing. That's about it for me.
Pat, you're up next.
I have a couple of things. One is the appointments for the Senior Center Executive Committee. There are 3 appointments in the book there, but we all, throughout the years, try to stagger the terms so that we're not all following, coming about for appointments. And there's 3 out of the 5 of us that came out for an appointment this year, and I don't know how that happened. So my recommendation to the board is to allow that they be staggered so that we can each year have one come out.
Didn't you guys kind of set this up over there?
No, this was set up by the Board of Selectmen.
Well, I know that the
We know.
committee was, but I mean the
Right.
terms.
Well, the
Because
terms was
initially,
set up-
everybody got signed up at once.
The term, right, and
They should have been
it's up.
staggered.
That's
they
when it should have been
staggered.
done, that's right.
Right, they should be staggered, and they're not, and so it ended up that 3 are Iris and Emily and Jane are all up this year, all at once, and I just find that odd to,
Could be
Very
no
odd.
more than 2.
so, anyway, I think that we need to, I'd like to see that the board recommend that the terms be staggered on these 3, so that we could at least have one every year, or two
Like a
every year,
one-
two and
one
one.
year,
It
2
should be a
years, 3 years.
2-2-1,
2-2-1 like the board,
whatever's
you know,
easiest to adjust it.
to do it. The other thing is we've been meeting with Community Action and talking with them about the closing of the senior center. At first, we did not close it based on the criteria that the governor set forth. And then we did close the senior center for all, at first it was only activities, programs and so on. It was just meals only up to 25. Now it's officially closed, and that the seniors can call ahead the day before and say, yes, I'd like a meal to go, so they can come and take the meal to go. And if there's anything that we can do, resources or whatever, we can help with in that realm. I've also worked with Heather and also spoken with Market Basket Manager and the other one. Market Basket was absolutely really nice about trying to get seniors in and helping out with shopping.
One question, was the other one Walmart?
No. Other grocery store.
Uh-huh.
So, anyway, it's really nice that the community has come together, and I've seen a lot of it. And I've seen people from Semerton reach out and say, what can we do to help our seniors? And they've called me and, you know, I said, well, this is what we're doing, and oh, that's a great idea. And now they're pulling together to see what they can do. And it's neighbors helping neighbors and seniors helping seniors, and it's all coming together. So we've been doing a lot of that, and so now the senior center is officially closed until further notice. And that includes the Wednesday night music group, that includes the AA meeting that meets on Friday evening. The cleaning people are cleaning. Cindy Clarenbach, the program director, still attends in the morning to give out the meals, and Emily, who works also from CAP, is there. And also Emily and one other senior package meals for every child this hours, and then they bring it to Southwood for quick disbursement. That's going on. What was the other thing that you said about the seniors? Oh, we have an appointment, did I say that?
Yeah.
So, Jeannie got a call yesterday, I guess. In one of our places that were searching for a van, knew we were searching for a van, and this outfit just got their new vans in, so they would like us to come down and look at their vans that they're going to give up. So Kevin and I, we were supposed to go today, but they canceled and said it would have to be early next week. So Kevin and I are going to take a trip down to Concord and take a look at the two vans that they have, and maybe one of them is going to be right for us. So that's in the works. And other than Cedar Street, potholes getting bigger, I have nothing else to say.
I'm sure it'll come up again. Peter, you're up next.
Well, that was asked last week. The only thing I had was the 132 part, and that was answered, so I'm good.
Okay. And then me. I don't know, germs, viruses. I'm not sure how, not the ones I have.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure how thorough our cleaning company is, but there are cleaning companies that specialize in disinfecting areas.
Sure.
Before we reopen town hall, I think it would be prudent to try and contact one of these companies, to have them come in here and do what they need to do to disinfect. That's what they do. Or maybe our current cleaning company is capable of this process. I don't know.
You've got a germination time, so if you've been shut down long enough, it's gonna die. So as long as we've been doing our stuff, the cleaning company does theirs, I would think we'd be good to go.
It was a couple of years back that we had.
Let's talk about it again when the time comes. I still think it might be prudent. I'm planting a seed.
I would like to say something.
And the senior center as well.
I'd like to say something.
I just, I'll check into it.
Okay, just so
So-
we'll have an idea.
A few years back, Jeannie, and it might be in the records, there was someone that came in, you might remember this, Tim. So I don't think it was an employee, but they had a very contagious illness.
I remember that.
And we shut down for a short period of time, a day and a half. We hired this company and they came in and cleaned, and then we were back in business again. Is it ServPro?
I don't remember exactly, but, yeah,
You
we
remember
did.
the incident?
No.
I do remember the incident, and they did come in and clean.
A thorough
Okay.
disinfecting.
We can talk about that
Specific
again, but it might
disinfectant.
be prudent, is all I'm saying. I don't know what it would cost. And I've got down the committee to decide the future use of the open space that will remain after the construction of the police department. There'll be a field over on the side, ostensibly the football field. You were talking about a ballpark or whatever, and I'm thinking that maybe a committee of people that will come up with a plan for this property.
Why wouldn't the Parks Commission if it's gonna be a park?
If it's gonna be a park, right now, we don't have, it doesn't, it belongs to the
Be
selectmen.
careful, you sold it at the meetings, there would
I
be a
did
ball.
not,
It
I
was,
did not,
the town sold it as such, so if you're changing now,
and I think we need to have a committee to decide what we're gonna do.
I think that it's really important, if I want to add, that when we went to this project, we said, they asked if the football field would remain, and we did say it's, a great possibility that the football field would remain. However, you might want to change it to a softball field now. And so that's a little bit different than the football field. So we would need to, at some point in time, gather people together to try to make whatever that is work.
What does it really look like? If it's not gonna be a football field, is it gonna be an open space, knocker ball, whatever, and, a softball thing down on one end?
If we
I don't
turn, I think what Joe is saying is that if we have control over it, the Board of Selectmen have control over it, we're gonna build a police department on this 4.86 acres of land, and there's gonna be enough land to turn back to the Parks Commission. We should really get a committee together and turn it over to what it really should be before we turn it over to the parks.
yeah, they should have nothing to say in it. The
Well,
rate we're going, you're gonna
No.
drive them out.
perhaps maybe someone on the committee should be a representative of the
I
parks.
think it
What do
should
you
be
think?
the whole committee, the whole parks, and if you wanna bring other people in, who's supposed to maintain it? It's parks. Oh, here you go, parks.
Right now, it's town. And I would
I
wholeheartedly
understand, but
like
you're-
the Parks Commission to be an integral part of this. I'm not trying to exclude anybody on the Park Commission. I'd like to get some people from the town.
Because we do so well on all our other boards. Okay, go for it.
Oh, no. John?
It'd be nice, the Parks has done a really good job maintaining the properties that they have, and they look stellar, and they're great. I think we've seen people in the community, some people saying they want softball and that, but maybe we could ask the Parks to be involved in creating a consensus or a survey from people on what they would like to see it as when it goes back to being parks.
Or look at what are the needs in the two towns, and when you have no softball field for the girls' organization, but I can rattle off baseball fields for the boys.
Right.
It's time for a little
Right,
equality.
and I think that would be the goal of what Jeannie and Joe are
That's
trying
what I'm
to
trying to come up with.
come up with.
I want it
is-
to be automatically a football field. I've always objected to the football field because the only ones who use it are the school people, and the school district at $29 million a year can have their own field. That's just my own feeling personally, and that's that. But there's lots of good ideas out there, and then maybe there's a ski park thing, or I don't know. I'm not on that committee. You want to jump in here?
I'm gonna jump in and be first. I feel that this was a parks property that was under the purview, if that's the right word, of the Parks Department.
Mhm.
Temporarily, it's gonna be removed from the parks and put back to the town. I think upon the completion, because in the meantime, the parks can meet and plan.
Mhm.
And I think it should be turned back over to the Parks Department at the end of at the end of the construction period. And along the way, the parks can do that, because I don't think it's just a Parks Department. I think that word recreation needs to be in their title, and I don't know if legally that can be done, but I think we need to look at, because we don't have a lot of space for recreation. We have a beautiful park downtown, but we don't have recreation facilities. And this might be an opportunity for us to create something as.
There you go.
But I think that should come under the purview and under the direction of the Parks Department.
So, I'm kind of all for that. However, the thing that we're kind of all missing here is that we, the Board of Selectmen, are going to tear up some property, and nobody seems to know how this property is going to get back into a usable piece of property. So when we met before with Parks, and we got estimates for a football field, and they said, well, Parks said, well, wait a minute, we're not going to pay for this. And we said, well, you shouldn't have to pay for this. Well, the selectmen said, well, we didn't have any provisions for this. We didn't plan for this. We didn't. We kind of dropped the ball on this. So we still have to figure out, number one, what is it that Parks wants there? And number two, how we're going to get it there and how we're going to pay for it. So we still have to have this, and we can't do it, the five of us, here all the time. So that's why I think that we need some type of committee with the Parks Commission to do this together, work together, and figure out these little details. Because somewhere along the line, we can't just turn back, or we will never hear the end of it, a bunch of dirt. We won't hear the end of it.
But if the construction's gonna take till November, December, this is gonna take, the Parks Department will be able to plan, get input from various community members, and then possibly put a proposal for the budget next year, into their budget for next year, to say,
Perfect.
And I think that was the whole point of what Joe was getting at.
That's kind of what I'm doing. We have to make a plan.
Is to start now,
Right.
however that's made up, whether it's the Parks Commission or a committee that includes the parks, I think the idea was to get the ball rolling on this so that by the time we're done with the police station, you've got that plan in place and you budgeted for it.
And you don't
can
want it
hit
to be
the ground
forgotten.
running, and you can get that park in place, or
Right.
that field, however it's configured in place. It was not about turf battles or
Right.
who does what, it was about planning and moving it forward and being ready.
Except for you have a parks that had a functioning field being given back land that is now not functioning, and say, oh, by the way, parks, you now have to pay for the mess we created you.
I don't think anybody
That's
said anything about
exactly the
parks.
opposite of what we want to do.
Well, it should
We
come
wanna-
out of the police building budget.
We
They're
can't
the-
because we never put it in there.
That's correct.
And you're one of the people that never put it in there because we voted on it.
Okay, so going forward, we come up with a
I didn't
cohesive
think we were
plan,
voting every item on the project.
a cohesive plan to present to the voters next year at town meeting,
Right.
where we'll have numbers to.
Let's create a half dozen more committees. It's like we get spread so
Okay.
You might not even need to go to the town's meeting because there's people out there that are willing, there's a lot of people and there's a lot of support. behind this softball thing too. You might have, you
Is
know,
that- Yeah, but right
labor.
now, there's not much you can do until you get that building up and out of the way, so
And
you
there's
know
the
what's
thing.
left.
There's a lot of support behind that. I'm behind that too. I'm 150%. I said in any way, shape or form, girls softball, we need it.
And girls don't have the opportunities that
That's
guys
right.
get. They really just don't.
No, they don't.
They haven't characteristics.
Especially with transgendered now.
I don't even want to talk about
Oh,
transgender.
the guys,
It's got
they
nothing
can't
to
make-
do with the park, okay,
So-
or that piece of property.
So we'll table the idea of, perhaps maybe we could table the idea of the committee and perhaps our ex officio of the parks could bring the information back to the parks. And
Call
maybe
for
we
that.
could meet with the parks in another meeting and explain it to them.
I'm totally good with that. I think we need a plan, that's all.
We just need a plan going forward because
Just
otherwise.
ask parks that we need a plan and we'd like to have some other input, but let the parks do it at their meetings. Why create additional meetings?
You don't have to.
Well, yeah, if you create this other committee altogether and just have a parks
Look,
ex
man,
officio, now we
I
have
floated
another
that as
meeting.
an idea. It's probably a poor one. We've moved on. I've moved on. Okay, so it goes to parks. You guys do whatever you need to do, but somebody's got to come up with a viable plan and what it's going to cost and what it's going to look like, so we can present it to voters next year. That's all. That's my plan.
Yeah, I just find it interesting, it's parks' problem, not the police, but that's fine. It should be the selectmen, you're the one that pulled it out.
Well, we just said we'd come up with a plan. If you don't want us to come up with a plan, because parks come up with a plan.
No,
Make up your
the
mind,
selectmen
Pete.
should come up with the funding, not parks.
Yes,
The
Peter.
parks had nothing to do with this.
Peter,
Well,
nobody's
no, we
saying
were
it
talking
comes
about-
out of parks.
No, we were talking about a budget for next year with parks. That means it's under the parks budget.
That was
Just
never
like
my
it-
intention. I
Okay.
haven't heard that come out of anybody's
And that's
mouth
what
but
was,
yours.
and that was said when we first asked about who's paying for it. It's gonna have to be parks.
No, I don't understand who said that, but be that as it may, the town pays for it. The town.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Another one of the hidden costs of this building.
absolutely. So, we had a parking problem over, I'm still up here. We had a parking problem over on Morrison Avenue. There was discussion about finding somebody to survey Morrison Avenue to let us know where the boundary lines are, and so we can make a decision on how to move forward. And I was just wondering if anything had happened in it.
I've not heard anything back from the property owner or the tenant. We have contacted David Krause to ask for a quote, and he said he would provide one. We don't have one yet.
That's been several weeks, right?
Uh,
Because if he can't come up with a quote in several weeks, maybe we should call somebody else. Because we do have taxpayers and residents who are affected by this.
Yeah, I thought that was only because of the snow. I didn't realize it was a problem.
It's going to be a problem again.
I understand that one of the questions I asked in the last meetings was, is that burden proof on the town, or should it be on the property owner to get the land surveyed to prove? But my understanding is where that, and I don't know that it's true, it's just what I heard, is that they're actually, their porch is on town property. I
I've
don't-
heard it said, but we don't know that.
I just said that. So my question to you the last time was, is this something that the town should be burdened with proving, or since it is the property owner who says it's their right, should they not be the ones to come up with the survey to prove that? I don't know. But in any event, I can go back to David and ask him one more time if he's interested. If he's not, we can certainly look at someone else and see what that's gonna cost, and then we can decide whether we want to pay for it or not.
Should we ask NHMA lawyers what they would say? Maybe it's a thing both parties split the cost. I don't know. Is it?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's sort of like, reminds me of the Cedar Street, the drainage, and that issue. So, certainly we can ask them, but I think we're just kind of guessing until we figure out who owns what. We haven't done that yet.
Can we go back and look at what we're actually trying to resolve? Because we're getting kind of, you know, where somebody's house is or that, and the problem is the snow removal and parking, whether it was on the street or off the street during the time of the year when you're not allowed to park on the street. So,
Well, if where they're parking the car is town property, it makes it that much easier. It's no longer private property.
And
He
we
says
don't
it
know
belongs
that
to
it's-
them.
We don't know that until it's true.
Right.
What kind of Morrison?
It's right across from John's house
no,
on Morrison. You should go over and take a look.
Halfway up.
Maybe the nice people at Planet Hollywood, if it gets approved, will let those people park in their lot.
They don't want to park anywhere but directly on
And
the
then,
street in front of
well,
the house.
They really want to park right where he parks.
So, in any event,
But they are inconvenienced.
I'd just like to,
whatever, so.
some resolution,
Yeah.
even if it's like, sorry about your bad luck, but we don't know.
Well, you know, the last conversation that I had, communication was to let the property owner know that the selectmen were sticking a parking ban and that they would have to adhere to it. I never heard anything back from her. I did hear back from the tenant, that he was looking forward to a lawsuit essentially. So. And I haven't heard anything since then.
Okay, that's the end of mine, and Eric, now yours is next.
Well, I'd just like to thank everyone for a warm welcome to the Board of Selectmen and support. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
Maybe one day I can get filled in on what's going on in Cedar Street.
We'll just get your phone number out there, folks.
Yeah, hand out the
I'll
card.
just come in here.
I got cards, so.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, then, now that we're way behind. Town administrators report.
Right, so you've got my report, and it's basically a lot of FYIs, so I don't need to go into those unless you have a question specifically. Some of the things that you don't have that came up at the last, that I wanted to talk about is, just as feedback, we closed town hall. We really haven't had any negative consequence. I think we had 2 people knock on the door this week, Gail said. We've gotten probably 6 telephone calls. It's been very quiet. The sewer commissioner's office has been closed till further notice, so is the town clerk tax collector. With your approval, we did send out a letter, and you all have a copy of the letter that went out to residents, letting them know how you were dealing with this situation. I've got a meeting tomorrow morning with NHMA, myself, along with other municipal managers, to talk about how to handle public meetings going forward as it relates to COVID-19 and what the governor is willing to do to help us out with that. Question that I had for all of you is the next board meeting. Do we, and you know the zoning board, and we'll have that discussion here in a few minutes, but the zoning board canceled their meeting last week, or this week, feels like last week. Does this board want to have a meeting next Thursday? There's nothing pressing unless Tim has something I don't know about. I might set a good example if we've closed the offices to everyone else to public meetings. Do we then go ahead and have another public meeting next week? The building is scheduled to be open on April 6th. So that's one question I want to ask you. How do you want to handle your meetings going forward? And Tim, in the meantime, has been working furiously, probably didn't even break a sweat, actually, to come up with how we could do virtual meetings.
Okay, well, before we go there.
And I say that, so I just mention that because as we move forward, if we're still in a kind of a lockdown, because I've heard July, August, it might be a way we
New reality.
Yeah.
Let's go around the room. John?
I think we should plan a meeting just to, because we're going to want to do updates or something, right? For any decisions on how we want to, do we still want to go and say, April 6th? Or do we want to extend it? We should know next week.
Pat?
I don't think that there's anything pressing at this time. We've cleared up everything, boards, committees, whatever. There's not, unless there's something significant that comes up that we hear that needs our direct attention, immediate attention, I should say, and leave that up to Jeannie and the chair, that I think that we should suspend our meeting on the 26th, reevaluate it, and if you feel that we need to come in on the April 2nd, give us plenty of time to plan on for April 2nd. Otherwise, if there's not that much to come in, other than just coming into town hall and signing payroll, that's my opinion. We've gone through this before. The only thing is, if there's a lot that's backing up, we don't want to be here till midnight the following meeting, if at all, because most of us work, if we're all back to work at some point. We don't want to be here at midnight and get up at 4 a.m.
We have nothing pressing this week. Just not to have a meeting.
And that's how you get the meeting moving. Peter?
See what they say about public meetings during the coronavirus. If we need to meet, we meet. If we don't, we don't. We can come
Okay,
in- we can
and
come
I'm
in
a-
and sign whenever.
And I'm a skip a week and reevaluate. I do have a question for Tech. Can you enlighten us about this virtual meeting thing you're talking about? Is it a version of this, or we all sit at our kitchen table and have a meeting? Is that even legal?
You can, well, the technology exists to be able to do either, so.
I understand that, but what's the legalities
That's
involved?
what
That's
I'll
what
bring
we're
out
waiting
tomorrow.
on.
Okay, okay.
And
So
would
you-
you have to be in the town of Tilton, or could I be at work?
No, that's what we're talking about, that's what we're gonna find out tomorrow.
And how
Just
does
like
the
that.
public
Right.
get in on that?
We we have the capability,
I know we do.
just so long as you know.
Okay, terrific. Is there a motion?
Do we want to talk about the appointments to?
Well, it was to not have a meeting.
Yeah,
Oh.
about whether to
So
suspend the
they were-
meeting for next week and to
Sure.
meet the following week, events allowing.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
Discussion,
Yes.
you're going to evaluate that with Jeannie?
I
and then
would,
you're
I
gonna come-
would be in close contact with Jeannie, and I would also be in close contact with you guys. It won't come out of left field, and you'll all have the chance to weigh in, but I will call the meeting accordingly. That would be my plan.
Yeah, if we do have to have a meeting, can we keep it to the Thursday night it was?
Yeah,
We have
Yeah.
something pending out there now. That's what I'm concerned with. If that comes up, then we need to meet.
Yeah, I think, and I would definitely let you know about that,
and that could be, yeah, I understand what you're talking
but I
about.
have no update.
And that could be a meeting for that and specifically for that only.
Right.
We could do.
Or we can do the signing and whatever, go into non-public and after that.
But I don't anticipate any updates for the next week, 2 weeks.
Okay, is there anybody else that wants to discuss? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed?
The
It's
other,
unanimous.
thank you, the other thing I wanted to bring to your attention is there's been a lot of back and forth through the different communities about if this gets extended, how are they handling employees who are out? Are they getting paid? Are they using their food time? Everybody's handling it a little differently. There was a nice memo that was sent out by one community which directed the employees if they had COVID-19. I'll send that to you to take a look at, but I think it's a nice format for us to consider that if, you know, I'll just read you. It says, effective today upon presentation of documentation evidencing the following, you will receive your regular pay for the necessary duration of your leave and will not be required to use sick leave in any of the following situations. If you have a current diagnosis of COVID-19 or you are under quarantine at the instruction of a health care provider, the town or local, state, or federal government, federal official in order to prevent the spread, or you are engaged in caregiving for an individual who has a current diagnosis of COVID-19 or is under quarantine, so, and they would need a letter from the doctor to give to us so that they would then be paid for that. At this point, in town hall, and it's been myself, Tim, and Gail, I would say every day. I think the first day the town clerk, I think Cindy was here for a couple hours. Tim, you know, if I'm getting this wrong, remind me. I think Kim came in for a couple hours yesterday. She was in for a couple hours today.
Came home and went back in.
Yeah. Leanne is working from home. Janice is working from home, but I did express to Leanne that I think next week, certainly, there are many things that can be done around town hall, that if they're not preoccupied with land use, we've got filing, we've got cleaning, there are things that we can do, we can certainly use them here, so I guess I prefer, as long as we feel comfortable that no one in our kind of area
Circle, right.
has that, and we're keeping people outside from coming in, we should be fine here, and we should be able to have business as usual. And it doesn't seem so hard to be disruptive to the outside, as far as I can tell. But
So you'll have the regular employees come in, regular.
yeah, I like this directive that I read here, which is basically telling employees, you know, this is, if you've got this, we need this kind of documentation. So, I'll send that out to you.
Can you use I saw the state will pay unemployment for anybody
Mm-hmm.
will stay, wishes to stay out or is displaced or we tell them not to come in.
And wait.
If we tell them not to come in.
Yeah, I'm gonna get more, there's been so much that's gone around.
I know.
I don't know what's true and what's not, and I'm hoping tomorrow I'm gonna get better clarification.
And they won't charge the employer for the,
Mhm.
for the unemployment.
No, they're setting up a special trust fund.
Because it comes out of
Yeah,
the trust
yeah.
fund that they have.
Yeah, like that.
Chip, you remember we got a grant from Chip to do the town hall assessment, and I was able to go back and have them rebid on it, and we've got the price cut virtually in half. So I looked at the bids, I'm good with what we got, and I will have them draft up the contract for you to sign next time with me, and I will soon get started on that this summer. So,
The grants, the grant that you, the Northern Pass grant. for
Northern
infrastructure-
Borders?
No, Northern Borders, I'm sorry. Would that entail getting us new windows at the Grange?
Well, Northern Borders is more infrastructure, and I talked to Catherine about that, that's like for the sewer project, that in past, we might have been able to get, very likely could have gotten funding for that.
But they
we've
allow
got
you
the-
to speak.
But they've got Moose Plate grants, you're talking about the senior center maybe, or.
The main hall, the
Yes.
main hall windows.
So there are other grant opportunities out there, and I actually have a grant workshop that I'm going to, I think in 2 weeks, if they don't cancel it, that's looking at just, I think I mentioned that too, that's looking at just that, but that's an LCHIP grant. Another LCHIP grant. But the importance of, and I had this conversation with Tim, the way we have this building assessment and the report that comes out is very important that it's done well, because that will then lead us to the next step of getting a grant to fix things we need to get fixed in town.
Okay. Town hall and town buildings, or just town hall?
Well, this one specifically was for the town hall, so. And the last issue I have is the zoning board. And I know there are two applications in here for zoning board members. I did get a call this afternoon from Scott Davis, who said he was interested in getting on the zoning board. I sent him the information, his neighbor, he said, so you've got two more potentially interested people. You all know what happened with the zoning, or maybe you all don't know, but there was a zoning board hearing that had been scheduled, got canceled because of weather. It's a pretty big project for Tilton. It's a, it's a
5 million.
5, 8, whatever it is, for obviously controversial because it involves Morrison, but it got canceled. These people coming from Massachusetts,
New Jersey.
So then they had it rescheduled for this last Tuesday. It got canceled because, well, ostensibly because of the COVID-19, as it turned out, we only have 3 members on the zoning board. And one of those, I understood, couldn't make it, so they didn't have a quorum anyway. But that, in my opinion, is why it's important for us. And I understand you don't want to just put anyone on it, but it seems to me like we have a challenge getting people to get on committees. And especially zoning board, if we're going to do economic development in this community, if we're going to move it forward, we need to have strong people, capable people, but we need to get people on zoning and planning. So I had that conversation with you today. I said, and I don't know if it was based on that conversation that then my phone rang and Scott said, yes, I'll be on. I don't know if you had anything to do with that or not, but we need to be getting people on these committees so we can move the town forward.
I agree wholeheartedly. I also hesitate to sign for somebody to take on such an important responsibility that I don't have any idea what he's about, or they're about. And I have appointed people in the past that I regretted appointing because I didn't talk to them in advance. If these guys are good, hallelujah, I would sign in an instant, but I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't know that either, and I would just say I appreciate your wanting to be cautious, but I would also say let's be cautious about saying things about people in public if you don't know them, or if you do know them, because we don't want to.
It's not a question of saying it in public or not in public. It's a question about being cautious and meeting with people. There are people here that have never met these people that are applying, and in the past, we've invited them into the board of
We
selectmen.
did have that one.
Yeah.
When
And in the past, we used to
Even
meet
before
every
you.
single one.
In the past, we used to meet them
I was
all.
when I first went to the planning board, or budget committee.
Right.
Who is this guy? Why do you want to be on that kind of thing?
Is there a way that we can just
You
do
worked
a
for the
year
state.
term?
What's that?
Is there a way we can just do a year term?
Well, I think before that, because that seems to me, I would be more comfortable saying, let's have them come in and meet. Because to just say, well, I don't know this person, I'm going to give them a year, well, it can do a damage in the year.
Yeah, they can.
So you might as well
Yeah.
meet them and have a conversation.
I would love to invite them in.
Well,
But
one's
we
already
just suspended
set.
our meeting.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Exactly.
Next
and-
month.
They can look in from outside the glass and we'll
There won't
shout
be any, there
questions.
won't be any zoning board
Well,
meetings
so
until
that-
then either.
So then that brings up the next, because I think you had a conversation with Pat.
Yes, they did. They called me and
They would like to reschedule the zoning board meeting for April 6th, which is the first Tuesday or 7th, which would be the first Tuesday, and we would be out of the building being closed down. assuming that.
Maybe.
Right, assuming that nothing changes, but that's what I'm gonna find out tomorrow, and that's why Tim's been working on the virtual, so that if for some reason, and finding out if it's even able to do that through NHM and the governor's office, if for some reason the building is still closed, can we do a virtual ZBA board, so that we're moving projects forward or not? But the applicant.
They don't have to meet here, do they?
Well,
What do you mean by here?
Here in this building?
well, that's what we're gonna find out.
Okay.
Just have to make sure it was ADA.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
But
It has to be
Notice.
noticed and everything else. I was just thinking maybe the senior center, whatever, I'm just throwing out ideas,
So-
I don't know.
Do we have enough people for a quorum when that April 6th happens? Do we have to?
Yeah,
If enough people sign the forms, we do.
yeah.
Well,
Well,
So we would need to meet with them
Do
the
Do you have
week
enough
before?
people that signed the
No,
forms?
you already have one that everybody signed. Oh, actually, no, I thought everybody had signed.
the way the quorum works though, we have a 5-person zoning board. So the idea is to have 5 people, because you have to have majority. If you have 4, you have to give the applicant the choice,
Mhm.
because if you have a 2-2 tie in a case of 4, it is the same as a no. And
And it's done.
it's done. So,
You have
So-
3.
Right now, you have 3 on the ZBA. This one that
but as long as you have COVID, I think you're down to 2, because there's one person that has a compromise in that
okay, so
system.
then you're down to 2. But then you heard there were just 2 that, well, one in particular that you all seem to know, was Scott Davis, and I don't hear anyone having any issue with him,
I
so
think
it
I signed that one.
doesn't, it's not
I
in
didn't see
here
one
yet.
in there.
Oh.
It's not,
No, I
because he
didn't
just
see it.
called.
Oh.
So, but if you, he's, I assume somebody you don't need to meet.
Oh, give us a blank paper, we'll sign it.
Could we make a
No.
motion that if Scott applies, we will accept him and appoint
Yeah.
Jeannie to approve the application, sign it for us?
Second,
I don't know if that's legal.
I don't know if that doesn't sound legal somehow, have Jeannie sign it for us.
Oh, well, if we
Well,
approve
you're-
Just
it,
get them to
still-
drop
you're
it
s-
off, we
you're s-
come by and sign it.
Yeah,
Exactly, 'cause
yeah.
you're still gonna have to come in and sign the manifest.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so it's gonna be in your 2 to sign.
Okay.
could we,
So you don't have to make any motion, I'll get them with all the
Yeah.
paperwork, and I'll put it in your file, and you can sign
no,
it.
on the other ones, could we somehow, beyond this application, have a little bit of a questionnaire to find out a little bit about people and say, do you have any conflicts of interest with any upcoming things that are, on the agendas? How would you handle that? Are you familiar with, some of the policies on that and listen yourself? What experience type thing, and do you realize the responsibilities? More questionnaire, and if they could answer that and attach it to the application, we could get a bit of an idea of who they are.
But you're still gonna wanna meet
It
first.
would be nice to meet them and ask them.
Does everybody know these 2 applicants?
I do not.
I don't.
I had Pat and Peter sign this one, which I think,
I know.
What,
I think he's a good candidate.
Related to Bernie, or?
He's an administrator
no?
in mechanical, mechanics.
So, the other question about the zoning board, and I think you had this conversation, was that they would like to have the next, set the next meeting, and that's gonna be required. Again, zoning is, it doesn't report to the selectmen, just like planning board. They're going to, but I guess
No, they don't report to us.
No.
The planning board doesn't either.
No. So she's gonna notice it tomorrow for April 7th. But that's gonna depend on what I find out tomorrow morning. If they say, if for some reason we close the building back down, can they have the meeting somewhere else, or can they do it virtual? So that all hinges on what I find tomorrow, but I just wanted to let you know that.
So, does anyone else know the other name?
It just occurred to me, did you say that the Chapman gentleman worked at AutoServe? Who owns that property across from Chili?
Not
AutoServe.
Not Chapman, that's for sure.
AutoServe,
AutoServe
and he works for AutoServe. Would that be a conflict of interest for him?
He doesn't have a fiduciary.
Right, doesn't have a,
I wouldn't vote against my boss.
I wouldn't vote against my boss either if I
go
wanted
back
to keep my
over
job.
30 years, when I was at Pike on planning board and I came with a plan, I stepped down. I didn't have a financial, they just gave me a paycheck like this guy.
It's like letting the fox
I
out
I
of
know
the
if my
hen
boss
house,
brought
isn't it?
something in,
Maybe
and I
not.
didn't vote for it, I'd lose my job.
I mean, you got my signature. Move on.
no, it's up to the person whether or not they recuse themselves and abstain from that.
That's true.
It's not ours to judge.
The other is, if they have a
Well, I think-
interest in the bill,
I know, well, so this is how we did it in the legislature, so we had to file if we had any kind of conflict of interest.
Mhm.
But it was, if you were gonna benefit more than anyone else. So, and I will tell you that the person who voted an awful lot, a lot of union stuff in the legislature was the union attorney. So, so it's a,
So the property is going to be sold, and then this person is going to buy the property and build this.
right,
So there's really not, where is the conflict?
right.
There's the conflict of interest would be that if this does not go through, the property will not be sold, and this person's boss would take a financial hit.
Or is it a lease?
The last one was a lease, for sure. Do you know this person?
It's Al's.
huh?
It's Al's. I don't
We
know.
went to Winnisquam, yeah.
Yes,
You know him.
But I'm not trying to force you to do anything. What I'm trying
I've
to,
made mistakes in the past.
yeah, what
I'm trying to avoid today.
what I'm expressing is that you've got challenges on different boards, and we're not gonna be able to make decisions, and businesses aren't gonna come to Tilton if we,
but this piece of property has been vacant for a number of years, a lot of years. There's a potential of $5 to $8 million project coming. We're spending $5 million on the police department. And just think, if we had another project, $5 to $8 million on taxes, would really offset that kind of
And I would
taxes,
love that, truly.
But
It's a win-win.
Well, the whole thing is, and it's not, and I'm not against
Move
going
your
in.
car, get over it.
Here's the deal, I'm not against,
It's about
I-
the
I'd like-
appointment.
I would like to say that I'm not against this at all, but when you have that many exceptions, what was the point of having all of our zoning laws if every time somebody doesn't like one, they just go to the zoning board and they say,
One or
they
two
can never say no?
variances maybe, but double digits, oh my God.
That's a
Throw
little,
your zoning out the window.
Well, let's see how
And-
many
and
they
then-
get.
and then right before the hearing, they put one of their employees into a position on the zoning board.
Well, I don't think that's fair at all to say that.
Well, I said it, and I will say
He
it.
did say it. Okay, but nothing will be decided on that this evening. Is there any other business to come before the meeting tonight? Hearing none, motion to adjourn.
Second,
Vote with your
Aye.
feet.
all right.
The time is 7:03.
Thank you for your pen.
It's still longer than I thought it
I'm
was
gonna
gonna
have a
be.
briefcase when I drop it. What do we do with this?
Because every week they pull them up.
If you keep leaving,
I don't
Gail's
care.
gonna say